Nervous.
I just did this like half an hour ago. He just put me on the spot. He was like, "You want to get interviewed?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure."
I was hosting all 3 of my shows, and I got other people to do it because I get nervous.
I was about to say, like, when I started, this is my first podcast, but being on a microphone is like completely different for me because I'm just sitting down and talking, so I'm good at that.
Okay.
So
So my nerves go, but once I start talking and get into it, I'll be running my mouth in here.
Yeah. So we're gonna get started. Welcome to our podcast, Her Story, Her Truth. And we can just start with introductions.
Okay, thanks for having me. My name is Harlem Nai, and as you guys know, I have the show On the Domestic Run, and I'm here to discuss the show and some more things. Whatever questions you have, I'm ready.
Of course, thank you. So, first question is, what inspired you to create Domestic on the Run, and how did it get you started with this platform?
Well, I started this On the Domestic Run because I am a survivor of domestic violence. And I grew up with my mom, dealing with domestic violence as well. Mm-hmm. So I've been seeing it as a child and then growing up, being an adult, going through it myself. Mm-hmm. So it was important for me because when I went through it, I didn't have certain resources, and I was just afraid to speak on it, especially with my friends and family members. I didn't want anybody to be judgmental towards my situation, so it was just really difficult for me. So I felt like, let me start a platform because a lot of people need someone to talk to.
Exactly.
They need someone to talk to. They need someone to vent to, someone that's not going to be judgmental, especially someone who understands, someone who's been through it already and could understand.
Yes, I completely agree. What I was talking about in my podcast earlier is, like, not a lot of people want to talk about their story and their truth. And I honestly believe, like, once we get our stories out there, there's going to be a whole bunch of people in our local community feeling the exact same way, but they just don't know how to ask for help.
Yes, I agree with that. And I want to say, since I started this podcast, and I'm gonna say, because I have 3 podcasts. I have 3 different podcasts. So one of them being On the Domestic Run, it was the hardest podcast to get going because I wanted to interview people. I wanted to not just tell my story. I wanted other people to come tell their story, and it was kind of hard to do so. But I did a couple of episodes, and after doing that, some people started reaching out to me, and then I seen, like, wait, this is working because people are trying to speak their truth, through what we have going on. So they want to talk about it, but they don't have the platforms, they don't have the resources to do so. So that's why it was important for me to, get this podcast. And we've been getting a lot of good feedback. A lot of people been, hitting me up anonymous, and just like, I'm going through this just to talk. There's so much people that I help behind closed doors because I just feel like I wish I had that help.
Yeah, that is very important.
Yes.
Okay, so on to the next question is, can you share some common misconceptions about domestic violence that you've encountered?
Well, I had a situation with my kid's dad, and this was like the worst abuse ever because, and I'm not gonna say he was so much like abusive in a physical form, but it started, verbally, yelling, a little control here and there, and as time went on, it got physical, and one day, he kind of attacked me and he broke my nose. So, and it happened in front of my 4-year-old son at the time. So, my son witnessing this, and I had a daughter at the time too. She wasn't there, but she seen the after effects. My nose was broken for 2 weeks. I had to keep my nose broke for 2 weeks, let it heal, and then they had to break it back and put it into place. So it was kind of hard, that's cosmetic. So they didn't want to pay, the
Yeah.
government, the insurance didn't want to pay for it. So that was something else I had to deal with. I just felt ugly. I felt like I was never going to look the same again. And it just affected me so bad. And more so because my kids seen me go through that. And at that time, I didn't, I had support my mom, my dad, but I didn't send my kids away with them while I was healing. I was still taking my kids to school. I was still
Yeah.
doing all my duties as a mom, but it was difficult because I was hurting inside, and I just couldn't believe somebody that says they love me, and I had kids would do that to me.
Yeah.
Try to disfigure my face, and
And still stand in front of your face and say, "Oh, I love you, I care about you." But somebody who like loves and cares about you dearly shouldn't be doing that to you.
it was like,